and get ready for a celebration. Welcome to the church with a 2-drink minimum. One more time now. Welcome to the church with a 2-drink minimum.
And we got our wee doggies in there. We'll have a kumbaya a little bit later. Stick around for the kumbaya.
Hey everybody!
Hi.
Hi Lena! Hi Arizona! Hi Jennifer! Hi Jen!
How
hi,
is your
China.
Sunday going? Happy Sunday, everybody!
Happy Sunday! We are having a good time.
I know it is. I hope it's gorgeous
Sunday.
where you are. I'm sure I'm sure you're gorgeous, but it's really particularly beautiful. This has been in the last couple of days here in Brooklyn have just been really spectacular.
Yeah, I've got a song. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a good time. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a good time. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a good time. Happy Sunday.
We are having a good time.
Good time. Hi, Connie and Ellen.
Good times. But you kind of expect the universe to participate when it's your birthday.
Birthday.
I know. There are people who did not think I would make it to 57.
I know.
And there are people, there was a while when I was one of them. Can you look back on any part of your life and not recognize that person?
Yes.
Do you have any part of your life that you look back and you go, how in the world did this make those decisions, or looked at that, or did those things? I did those things. I signed my name to that, Well, so it's just, there's hope.
There is hope.
So for every really crazy thing that we all think that keeps us from joy, that crazy thing that keeps us from love, the crazy irrational idea that thinks that because of something we have said or done or anything doesn't allow us to access connection and beauty and love and fulfillment. I know she calls the course promises your perfect
happiness.
Your perfect happiness and certain destiny.
Certain destiny.
Those are the phrases she uses. Perfect happiness and certain destiny. So it doesn't matter what we're doing. There's a certain destiny for you.
Okay. So actually his birthday was on Friday, which was when you and Jacqueline have your program.
That's true.
And but we've been celebrating Glen's birthday all month because I like to do that. We actually started last Sunday when I baked his birthday cake.
Yeah.
Then I had to go to Vermont this week and actually leave Glen alone on his actual birthday day.
She filled the freezer with pizza. So it was fine. I did not starve,
And you had birthday cake.
Yeah, I had birthday cake. There was lots of birthday cake.
It really
and
was.
I've had my do you have a favorite meal? Do you have a birthday meal? Did your mom say, I'll make your favorite meal for your birthday? Did you do that? That's what happened in my family. My mother always made our favorite meals for us.
And guess what your favorite meal is?
I get it all the time.
Pork chops.
Double cut pork chops.
Mashed potatoes.
And
green beans.
I know. Garlic, green beans, and mashed potatoes. I'm a Southern boy. This is very, 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 very true.
So let's raise our glasses to Glen's 57th year around the sun.
And that healing can happen at any age.
Yay! Here's to all of our birthdays. So let's do our sing-along while we've got everybody here and ready to go.
You know the song.
Yes, you do.
I hope you know it by now.
Our favorite song, and that has grown more and more
poignant.
Let things be.
Let things be.
Exactly as they are.
Exactly as they are.
If can't change me.
You can't change me.
And you can't change
'Cause you can't change God.
So let things be.
I let things be.
Exactly as they are.
Exactly as they are.
And you and me.
So you and me
will live in peace.
we live in peace.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know
what anything is for.
what anything is for.
Unless I listen to that still small voice.
I have a still small voice
telling me.
It's telling me
this simple truth.
this simple truth.
That everything
is for my good.
So let things be.
I let things be
Exactly as they are.
exactly as they are.
You can't change me.
You can't change me.
You can't change.
'Cause you can't change God.
So let things be.
I let things be
Exactly as they are.
exactly as they are.
And you and me.
And you and me
will live in peace.
we live in peace.
I choked. I'm not this body.
I'm not this body. I'm not.
I know, and all the funny
We're gonna
things that,
say that today a lot.
that all the funny things that my body does sometimes.
That's funny.
I'm not this body.
She has a funny body
that you see.
that you see.
I am as
She is as God
created me.
created her.
And we are all.
And she is
one family.
one family.
And it's possible.
Yes, it's possible
to live in
peace. Come on, sing it with us. Last
So
time.
let things be.
I let things be
Exactly as they are.
exactly as they are.
Can't change me.
You can't change me.
Can't change
'Cause you can't change God.
So let things be.
I let things be
Exactly as they are.
exactly as they are.
You and me.
So you and me
will live in peace.
we live in peace. Kumbaya.
There's the kumbaya.
I
moment.
know, but you have to, we can live in peace. The promise is to live in peace, right?
It really
The
is.
promise is peace. If you'll work with the laws of God.
It really, really is.
We're gonna-
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Uh-huh.
I've really been thinking about the last few days' lessons, and when you guys started talking on Friday
Yeah.
about defenselessness,
Is that cool?
Yeah, it really brought home to me places where I'm so resistant to what is. And then this morning when we were listening to homily, which was really great, by the way, it reminded me again. I kept hearing resistance is futile.
Yeah, we watched a lot of Star Trek.
Right, but it just kind of helped me remember, that, or helped me see how much I resist what is, and so when y'all were talking the other day, Jacqueline emphasized how if I just basically let things be exactly as they are.
What'd she do?
Yeah.
Then
Well,
she-
she leaned back like this, and she put her arms behind her head like this, and she said, I could just float down the stream, And it made me think of, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
I know. So we could, the way my mom tells, the way I heard it growing up is, you don't have to be dragged into the light. You could just walk there of your own accord, instead of like the universe having to teach us with difficult lessons.
Right.
We could choose to learn the lessons through a loving way, in a loving way. We don't have to learn through pain and suffering.
Right.
It's available. And certainly it's valuable if you will learn from your own participation in suffering. But we don't have to learn that way. We could learn through our loving relationships, through the loving connection, and through exploring our inner nature.
Yeah, so you know, lately I've been practicing with this idea of I trust my brothers who are one with me. So I trust my brothers and sisters in my community and around me, everyone around me. I trust. And it's been sort of helping me navigate challenging situations that we're going through. There's always something challenging happening, right? But
so the world doesn't comply with your will in every little thing.
Not in every little instance. So I cannot control every little thing, you know, although I want to. But
I'm glad I don't have to. That's what's coming around, isn't it? It's like thinking where it would be better that if I had control over something.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's even better if I resist getting in and trying to control or manipulate or manage something.
Oh, explain that a little bit. What do you?
No, it's better if I don't get involved. I'm not making the situation more peaceful.
By doing what?
By getting involved.
Oh, by trying to.
By inserting myself.
By inserting myself. Ah.
Right.
And so as I was driving back and forth to Vermont, I was practicing, I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me on the highway, right? Because people are going zip, 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 and I'm not necessarily used to driving that much because we live here in Brooklyn and park the car on the street. But when I am driving, I see how, easy it is for me to slip into that
aggressive driving.
Yeah, that aggressive driving thing, So it's just been a really interesting practice for me after Friday, after you guys were talking about defenselessness on Friday. I was practicing driving home, just saying, I trust the traffic that is one with me. And there's all of these cars when I get closer and closer to New York, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And by the time I got into the city, the miles long of traffic, it takes an hour. Once you get to the Bronx, it takes an hour to get from the Bronx to our house.
From the bridge to it takes an hour to get from the bridge to the bridge from Manhattan to cross. It takes an hour to cross Manhattan.
Just because of the traffic, right? So there's all this honking going on and all this stuff. And I really was practicing, I trust the traffic that is one with me. And you know what? It just made it easier. It still took an hour, but it just made me feel better. I just felt better. And I felt like I was in the flow, in the stream. And I just felt like Jacqueline sitting there going, well, here I am in the flow. And I noticed because it was getting dark that all the headlights were, all the tail lights, I could see all the tail lights and everything. I didn't make the traffic an enemy, exactly. And I was sitting there going, I am in the flow. And look at this flow. There's this beautiful red flow. It almost looked like lava, because I was up here on a hill and I could see all of these lights. The lava stream.
Traffic lights.
It was really interesting when I began to practice that way.
When it wasn't an obstacle and it could be appreciated for what it was.
Yeah, and it was very beautiful, actually. Isn't that funny? That was really...
they say there's nothing to do. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Hi, Jacqueline. Yes. Just talking about how wonderful you were.
Talking about you.
And how much you were helping me the other night with talking about defenselessness. Oh, and Kathy's here too. Hey, Kathy, we really appreciate your love and support. So, with all of that, I think I'd like to read today's lesson.
Well, all right. Yeah.
And
so this is she moves on with this idea of defense.
Right.
Is kind of like the theme, and we're going to talk about that a little bit in more defense. And I'm going to call this negative motivation.
Oh, okay.
As a way of framing what a defense is.
Negative motivation.
It's to motivate from a negative, to do something from a negative space.
Interesting.
To be motivated from a negative.
And that's what you're calling
defense.
Oh,
as a way of understanding or getting a hold of how subtle this idea is and how useful it can be to see it clearly. So
interesting. But I want to read yesterday's first because I think it might give a little more context. Well, she's going on
and she starts to get deep into what a defense is, what I'm defending, what I'm attacking, what I think needs to be or must be different, and how I think it's my responsibility to do it.
Yeah.
It's a whole worldview. This attack, defense, manipulate, control, restrict, change. That's a completely unhealthy paradigm from the one that she's trying to get us to understand, is to grow and heal and change and expand and share and connect. And those are we don't have to worry or control what is in the world, because it's doing it all on its own.
Sure
It's
is.
hard. This river we're flowing down, right?
Yeah.
But
merrily. Life is but a dream. All right,
so lesson 135
was yesterday, and it said, if I defend myself, I am attacked. That was 135. That was yesterday. Yeah, okay. So it says, who would defend themselves? Go back. Who would defend himself unless he thought he were attacked, that the attack were real, and that his own defense could save himself?
Okay, see, there's the paradigm. That's the paradigm of existence. It's a mindset. It's a way of organizing the world. It's really subtle.
And she goes on to say, herein lies the folly of defense. Yeah. It gives illusions full reality and then attempts to handle them as real.
In the Manual for Teachers, she calls these foolish guardians.
Yeah. And then it says, it adds illusions to illusions, thus making correction doubly difficult. And it is this you do when you attempt to plan the future, activate the past, or organize the present as you wish.
No.
Okay, and then
I feel subtweeted. I do.
Oh my God,
feel a little bit subtweeted there.
Do I ever plan the future? Yes. Do I ever activate the past?
Yes.
Do I ever organize the present as I wish, as I want it?
Yes.
Try to control it. Yeah. Yes, I do. So then today
is the belief that you must protect yourself from what is happening.
Right. Let's go to today's lesson. Now, this could be triggering, and it is a bit triggering.
The body mess. What's the thing that Course in Miracles says the most?
I am not a body. I am free.
Right.
I am still as God created me.
Right.
So with that in mind, listen to today's lesson, 136. Sickness is a defense against the truth.
So we're defending. We're still defending. Looking at all the ways in which we don't want. We think the world is happening to us.
And when we begin to understand that this is of our own creation, then we begin to release this idea that it's mine to control. Everything is mine to control. And I'm just doing this thing right now where I release control. So here's a prayer. It ends in the prayer for today. I've forgotten what I really am, for I mistook my body for myself. Sickness is a defense against the truth, but I'm not a body, and my mind cannot attack, so I cannot be sick.
Right.
We are not sick. What I truly am is not sick. I am not sick. I am healed. I am whole. I am perfect and complete.
And have always been so.
Hallelujah.
So she says that goes, what is it for then? Then if we don't need to defend it, what is it for? She says it in the second paragraph. Sickness is not an accident. Like all defenses, it's an insane device for self-deception. And like all the rest, its purpose is to hide reality, to attack it, to change it, to render it inept, distort it, twist it, reduce it to a little pile of unassembled parts. Sickness, it helps us to cut up the world. Cut up our little mind. It goes, this is over here, that's over there, this is separate from that. These things aren't connected. One thing doesn't affect another. It's a whole frame of existence. Sickness is not an accident. It's a choice to engage in a worldview that's destructive.
Right.
Because it's self-identification with the pain, or with the suffering, or with the malaise, or with the unease, or with the not knowing, or whatever it is we say we just can't stand. Right?
Defenses. Yeah.
Right.
Defenses. I'm seeing all of my defenses. And you know, so I'm going to encourage myself and all of us to release all that today and move into that place that I call home, that place of love inside what we're created, how we're created. Move into that place of love that never changes. So if you'll join me in the circle of love meditation, we'll ring the bell 3 times, and we'll take a deep breath on each breath. And the last time we ring the bell, we'll release with an Om. Here we go. We are co-creating a circle of love right here, right now, in this Zoom experience, in the radio experience, all of us who are listening on the radio, everyone in the rooms that we're occupying, all the creatures, our cats, our pets, our friends, our lovers, our husbands, our wives, our significant others. We are all a part and are co-creating together this circle of love because we are made of this unconditional love. And so we allow this knowledge of that unconditional love to bubble up inside of us and to just ooze out, spill out over into our rooms, into our houses, into our cities, our streets, our towns, our country, our world. And in this circle of love, we include everything that we like and everything that we do not like, and we learn from all of it. In this circle of love, we know and we acknowledge that we are seated on land that once belonged to our Native American ancestors. And here in New York City, where we live, those ancestors were called the Lenape. And in Vermont, where we also live, those ancestors were called the Abenaki. We affirm and we declare and we know that Black lives matter and Black trans lives matter. And we affirm and we declare and we know that human consciousness is shifting. And we declare that we release control and that we release this defensive attitude that we think we need to stand in. And we allow ourselves to come home to the love that we are. Blessed be, and so it is.
Do you want to know the place that's always green? Do you want to see the things we seldom see? Do you want to hear the things we barely hear? Well, I found my way there, and I can take you there. I can take you there. Home is the place place that never changes. It's the love inside yourself that never changes. Home is the place that never changes. And I found my way home. Do you want to know? Do you want to know the way of time and space? And do you need a place? Do you need a place that nothing can erase? And do you need to be? Do you need to be through eternity? Well, I found my way there, and I can take you there. I can take you there. Home is the place that never changes. It's the love inside yourself that never changes. Home is the place that never changes. And I found my way home. Home, home never changes. It's the love inside yourself that never changes. And I found my way home. I found my way home. Oh goodness! Well, that's one of your favorite songs.
That is my favorite song that Yolanda does. My favorite one. No, my second favorite actually.
Oh, thank you. And we were able to share with you in that video some many variations.
Oh, many. Did you see those pictures of us?
Yeah,
I haven't seen those pictures in like
a long
forever.
time. Yeah, Jacqueline was asking who's the little girl at the end. I actually do not know. It was just a photograph that
something
I found.
that happens in our, that's what, that's like that's the culture that we come from.
Right.
Pawpaw.
Yeah, when well, you probably had that growing up in Kentucky and stuff too, where
there's always somebody named Pawpaw.
Pawpaw, yeah. And I just thought that was so cute because that's what we call my my grandfather on my mother's side. So I put that at the end. But some of those photographs that you saw,
most of those images are us.
Are us in many different disguises and forms. My many different faces.
Yeah, and home is something that was good. Home is what we bring.
Yes.
Home isn't a place. It's who I am.
It's who I am, and I wanted to say that some of those clips were from my hometown, Muscle Shoals,
Fame
Alabama.
Studios. Right?
Home is what never changes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the idea of the song. So some of those clips were from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, where I was
Fame
born.
Studios.
And some of those clips were from my mom's house, and those were my brother and my family. And the big collage had a lot of pictures of Glen's.
Oh yeah, me and my family. Yeah.
So just this idea of coming home, releasing what doesn't work, and just resting in that place of love inside that never changes.
Yeah, and because a lot of people don't experience that feeling with biological family.
Right.
That feeling. Have you ever? I remember one of the first times I ever walked into a gay bar. I was I was 14, 15 years old, sneaking into where I was not supposed to be.
How about you?
But
14.
At least probably 16. I'll take that back. It was 16. It was 16 because I just gotten my driver's license.
Oh, good.
That was
at least you were 16.
But have you ever gone to a place? Maybe it was a church. Maybe it was a bar. Maybe it was school. Maybe it was a classroom or a club or something. But you walked in, and suddenly, an experience of home that you've never ever felt before. You experienced it. You experienced home for the first time. doing that when I was like 16 with a queer bar, going into a queer bar, and then doing it again and finding the radical fairies, and then doing it again and finding a spiritual community. This sense of deepening of home is I think a lifelong process, and one that we carry with us so that we can share it. Right? Home is this huge, big, overflowing idea. Home is so much. There's so much abundance. When you think of home, you think of abundant and overflow and big meals and big hugs and all those things, right?
And now I think of home in terms of our land in Vermont.
Yeah.
Where where I was on Friday, and y'all got to see a little bit of the background where we're putting in roots there and going to be growing food and creating a homestead there. So. Let's see, how does all this conversation that we're talking about now...
we're talking about the guiltless world. This is chapter 13.
Oh, so the message, the message from today is from chapter 13, the guiltless world, section 3, the guiltless Son of God.
I know, so what are you defending? So, I mean, we're still on that subject. It's like, this is why I mean, it's like, there's a negative motivation that we can look at. We can characterize it. We're trying to stop something from happening. We have a negative. We want to stop this feeling.
Okay.
Right.
So
it's a negative motivation.
Okay. I'm still not clear on how you're using that. So,
well, a positive motivation would be the carrot, right?
Oh.
And a negative motivation would be the stick.
Okay. I'm still not clear on it.
Okay. So we're on chapter 13. This is called the guiltless world, and this is a lot about it's about relationships, but it's about how we work together to change a culture. Okay. It's like how culture is created, how a milieu or an atmosphere or a way of being or an organized body, a culture of a healthy organization might look like. Okay. So this is called the guiltless world. It's section 3, the guiltless Son of God. Why don't you read these two little pieces? I've highlighted that for you.
Okay, so we're starting out with this.
Yes.
Projection is always to get rid of guilt. If you are to retain guilt as the ego insists, you cannot be you. Only by persuading you that it is you could the ego possibly induce you to produce guilt and therefore keep it in your mind.
Right.
Yes, I get that.
Okay.
If you are to retain guilt as the ego insists, you cannot be you. I love that. You cannot be you.
So guilt is the discomfort, the very discomfort at being ourselves. The human condition. It is this malaise, the existential dread, whatever, we've talked about this forever as human beings, this sense of unease, right? That we're seem to be born with. The idea here she gives us the idea of a split mind. Because our minds actually have an opinion about all this and what's going on.
Right.
So we are the one who is ashamed of who we are, and we're also the one who is not ashamed of who we are.
Wow.
That split mind.
Oh, that's
we love this thing that we love to hate.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We protect this, it's a split mind. We love and find problematic the same things in our minds.
Yeah, okay.
We love and want to get rid of the same things in our minds often. And the ego is all about, because it's playing this game of restriction and contraction. It wants the world in a nice, neat little box that you take off from a shelf, use once and put back, and it always works in exactly the same way. The world doesn't work that way, but the ego believes that it should, and it's trying to construct the world this way. So the ego lives in a world of judgment and attack and guilt and fear. All these are motivations and actions that build and spiral on each other. Right. And the spirit is guilt is how we disown or project what we have internally rejected.
Right.
So we love this thing of ourselves. We can't accept that we love these things about ourselves. So we project it onto others and say they're the good person, they're the a beautiful person, they're the talented person, they're the a wise person, they're the kind person, they're the this thing that we love about ourselves we can't let ourselves do, and things that we don't love about ourselves as well, and they could be the same. Often they're the same thing.
Right.
Read the next piece.
I will, but I want to switch back into the room and just check in because we're going back from different screens to different screens. Okay, so everybody seems to be like okay.
What's this next piece?
So the next piece says you project guilt to get rid of it, but you are actually merely concealing it. You associate it with a weird assortment of ego ideals, which the ego claims you have failed.
Right.
Oh. Actually, it says you are failing yourself.
Ego ideals. That's a fancy way of saying the ego has constructed an ideal for us.
Right.
That we're supposed to be. Now, the two images I used on the lesson this weekend is Farrah Fawcett majors and Lee majors and Farrah Fawcett majors.
Right.
Do you remember them?
Oh, well, yes, I do. I'm sure. I don't know who's responding in the.
When I was coming up, they were the perfect couple. Every girl wanted to be Farrah Fawcett, and every boy wanted to be Lee Majors. She was Charlie Zane. She was the pinup girl, and he was the bionic man. Right. So that was who you were supposed to be. Right. And they were tall and blonde and rich and good looking and smart and everything that you're supposed to be. So this is an ego. This is an idea or the concept that the Holy Spirit is asking me to look at. It says, what is your ego ideal? The ego conceals some things, and it holds impossible standards so that you cannot meet them. It's designed for them not to be met. Right. It's designed to be problematic. Now here's the wild part. Spirit comes along and says, you can't get rid of me. You can't change me. I'm not an option.
Oh, Spirit.
Spirit is like dealing with reality is not an option. We can slow it down. We can do all kinds of things. You can try to stop it, but you're never going to get rid of the God in us, our own divinity.
Yep.
And that's good news, actually.
It is.
Because that is the strong part.
Yeah.
Your kindness and your vulnerability and your desire to connect and love and share and that's actually the strong part. And the ego is going to say you shouldn't be that way because it doesn't live up to these ideals we have of what you're supposed to look. I mean, you're not the bionic man. So so read this next piece.
All right. The darkest of your hidden cornerstones holds your belief in guilt from your awareness.
Oh no.
Ego's destructive urge is so intense that nothing short of the crucifixion of God's Son can ultimately satisfy.
This is kind of dramatic, but it's just like there are, we have to admit, she's asking us to look at and maybe consider admitting or owning that there are parts of ourselves that we would kill off if we could.
We even say that sometimes. I hate this thing about my body, or I hate this about myself, or whatever. And I mean, that's a very destructive way of going about it.
There are parts of us, we think that our lives or our world would be better if some personality, something wasn't the way it was. That if we could cut it out, we would. The ego sits on this cornerstone.
Right.
It's just the cornerstone of guilt. That why you don't measure up, what the problem is with you, why you're stinky and have no friends, or whatever is going on. Your ego is sitting on that. That's the cornerstone of the thought system for the ego. I'm not enough. I'm bad. I'm broken. I'm little. I'm powerless. I shouldn't be me. This is all broken inside. Ooh. And there's a lot of positive stuff in the world that it's like, here I can help. I can 10 steps, 12 steps to do this. There's all kinds of people who are going to want to help you out of that as a business model. Well, it's always about this attack and defense. We're looking to avoid, or we're dealing with this paradigm of like, punishment and death
Right.
and suffering. So this defense is, I don't want to die. This defense is, I want connection, and you're not giving it to me. And so because this isn't happening, something has, it's unmovable, so something has to die. You don't work with it, you don't figure it out, you don't accept it, you don't forgive it. It has to be destroyed.
Wow. Yeah.
And the ego is very afraid of its own destruction. You know.
So we
we are because they're our egos say we're bodies, say we're thoughts, say we're things. It knows it's it knows it's got a middle, a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's not particularly happy about it. But how do we stop projecting in the world? How do we create this culture in which we are spirit moving through and living through and creating and expanding the love and presence of God in a material universe?
Well, yes, that's the practice. I mean, that very thing has been revealing itself to me in new ways with my continual practice of these principles, in challenging situations where the ego would just want to, leap out.
So the ego, to the ego, the guiltless are guilty, is what she says. Approached, we have approached, to get on the other side of this, we, as our right minds, must approach the deepest and darkest cornerstones of our foundation. We have to be willing to look at our own negative motivations, to look at the way that we want to control and stifle and restrict or cut out or kill parts of our own self, that it would be better.
Yeah. Now
the ego sits on this.
Yeah.
It would be better if something part of you was this awful part of you that you actually also alternately love and hate. Right? Split mind.
Yeah. Now, that's
the ego is sitting on the fat foundation. That's the cornerstone. The ego looks at it this way: if you're not attacking and you're not doing this defending, it means that you've admitted that you're guilty. You actually did it. If you don't defend yourself, then you did it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole debate me thing online. Just debate me. No, this is ridiculous. So the cornerstone, the ego must hide this cornerstone. It doesn't encourage us to ask what it's sitting on or how to look at its thought system. It's the thought system of the world. It's the hegemony. It's the business model. It's the business model that we live in. It's every single boring, racial, misogynistic, it's so boring. That we don't even examine it. But the results are, if we build this culture that doesn't examine it, we don't ever build something that doesn't create the suffering that we're trying to control and restrict to manage. It just, we're inside this paradigm, unable to fix the paradigm. So she gives us a solution. Why don't you read this next piece?
In the calm light of truth, let us recognize that you believe you have crucified God's Son. You have not admitted to this terrible secret because you would still wish to crucify him if you could find him. The ego does want to kill you. Now, see, I just really want to say that this is what I've been looking at.
Okay.
How deeply these deep, dark places that I haven't been willing to look at before. And in the looking, and when this course says these deepest and darkest places that we want to reject, are the cornerstone of the ego's foundation, that to me really spoke to me. So if I want to unhook myself from the ego, I have to take a look at what I think is really
what you should kill off.
Dark.
What your ego is telling you to kill off.
Right.
So to the ego is God.
Right.
Because it's the one who's making all the decisions. It's the one who decides whether something's good or bad or anything. And the guiltless must be interpreted as the final guilt that that finally justifies murder. It says, if you won't say you're sorry, then you should die. If you don't agree with me that this thing, that you agree to the restriction, agree to the thing, you have to be punished and destroyed. This is the ego mind. It's about hierarchies and competition and ideals and possible ideals. It's to not comply with that world system, to not get on board with that business plan, to not get on board with that way of living. Women are this way, men are this way. This is how the world works. And to not comply with that. A lot of the world will say that we are rejecting. So we experience rejection when we don't get on board with the suffering of the world, of these institutions. We don't get on board with the suffering of the world. So to not comply with that, we experience that as the world rejecting us because we're too kind and we're too nice and we're too we can't do this, and you can't be a good person.
Live in the world and
you can't live in the world and
be kind and everything. Let's switch back to the room for a second. I want to see
how we doing.
Hey everybody. We're going back and forth between screens here.
So this course has explicitly stated that its goal for you is happiness and peace.
Yet you are afraid of it.
I know.
The atonement has always been interpreted as the release from guilt. For you believe that in the presence of truth, you might turn on yourself and destroy yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
You would feel so bad about being so wrong that it would look better to just not exist. This is the examining of the cornerstone of guilt. It's our rejected selves. It's the part of ourselves that it's the malaise. It's the uneasiness we have in our own being, in our own skin. It's not anything more crazy, unusual than that. The circle, it creates this circle of in our minds and in our practice to look and then don't look. To look within and then stop looking within, to look within. And that's the practice of being able to look and be with our discomfort longer and longer, be able to listen, be able to put some pauses in there.
Yeah. The
examination, to examine what are the outcomes when we make decisions based on the ego's thought system or the thought system of the world. This is the practice that this looking and not looking and looking and as long as we can, or doing that difficult work for as much as we can. This is the building of the trust in our Holy Spirit. This is the building of our own trust in the voice that likes us. It creates this feeling of certain destiny that I talk about. It's the promise of perfect happiness if we do what is ours to do. So we fear seeing the light.
We do.
We do fear taking responsibility for our greatness because there aren't a whole lot of role models out here for it. And we have to look at what and be honest with who's asking the questions and what do we want. That's the split. That's how you find the split mind. Who's talking? What are you trying to address? Are you motivated by negative or positive desires for change? Are we running from something? And half the course is running, is set up running from your bad decisions, our bad decisions. The other half of the course is running toward what is ours, the community and what is ours to do in the world. But read this bit, and I think we're going to be pretty much done.
This is a beautiful way that she ends this chapter here. Little child, this is not so. Your guilty secret is nothing. And if you will but bring it to the light will dispel it. That's what I've been learning. If I'll just take the time to examine it and look at it, it's not frightening.
Not as frightening as we've been led to believe.
Think it is.
And we can do it together. And it's easier. Because your ego's going to tell you, don't tell anybody.
Right.
Keep this a secret, man.
Yeah. So, little child, this is not so. Your guilty secret is nothing. And if you will but bring it to the light will dispel it. And then no dark cloud will remain. For it is the recognition of love without fear. there will be great joy in heaven on your homecoming. Home is the place that never changes. The love inside yourself that never changes.
And so the image I used was grandma and grandpa. You know, the little kids on the ground and they're running toward grandma and grandpa.
Right.
Reunion.
AKA Papa.
Papa. So when that feeling and that experience of the examination and acceptance of a dark thought, the examination, the acceptance of a guilty thought, the examination and acceptance and letting go of fear and the desire to stop something from happening, right? The negative motivation. Just willing to look over and over again, that look, unlook, oh, look, unlook, will eventually feel like a reunion, because the split mind will be healed, and we can like our grandmother can, or Papa can embrace the little child that we rejected. You know?
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. I love how this all wraps in together. It's just,
tell them about the song. Just a little reminder that you're listening to Church with a 2-Drink Minimum, and my name is Reverend Glen Ganaway, your favorite anarchist preacher.
Yes, you are, and it's your birthday.
And it's my birthday, and I'm here with the love of my life, the Reverend Yolanda.
Hey, human, everybody. Well, you know, I wanted to see what was on the chat board here.
Oh, okay.
Because we had some comments. Spirit can never be guilty. Thank you. And home is where it never changes. I appreciate that that comment. Spirit can never be guilty. Yeah. And so I thought we would celebrate with this next song that's based on the Rumi poem called The Guest House. And The Guest House is a poem that says, accept everything and it's all good. So this is my song in my video called It's All Good.
Shanti, 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 Om. Shanti, 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 Om. I had a dream that being human was like running a motel. My next guest could be Sister Joy from heaven, or it could be the traveler from hell. I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh, Shanti, 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 Om. Shanti, 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 Om. Well, maybe it's a tour group of sorrows, but I'll be grateful for all who come, 'cause every single one of these travelers are sent as teachers from the beyond. I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. Shanti, 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 Om. Shanti, 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 Om. Shanti, 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 Om. Shanti, 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 Om. Shanti, Shanti. Oh, thank you.
We love singing along to that one.
Oh God, Shanti,
Hey!
hey, Shanti,
Hey!
hey, Shanti. Oh. Hey George, how you doing? Oh God, you know that was perfect for what we were just talking about for the lesson. I mean, it's talking about just having the wherewithal to look at those things that you think are dark within
And
yourself.
a good place to I think she's making this easy because she says, look at your ego ideals. Look at who is the Farrah Fawcett that you're supposed to be. You know, who's the Lee Majors that you're supposed to be. What is this thing, this idea, this person that you're supposed to be in order to deserve to be here.
Really, I love it. All right. So before we move into
something genuine
with Reverend Jacqueline, I keep saying Reverend Jacqueline. Hey, Reverend Jacqueline. I want to dedicate a little song, actually, to Jacqueline.
Okay.
And you know it.
Oh.
So sing it with me. All y'all sing it with me. Here we go. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. One more time. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is merrily, 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 life is but a dream. I kept thinking about that all weekend after the talk on defenselessness.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
This has been this whole week. Like, I hope you know, or we all know by now, that the lessons track with the text.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So if you're looking for more information, looking for like, how can I explore? Because these lessons are really long right now.
And
they're like
deep,
20
yeah.
They're like 20 paragraphs. Right.
Right.
So if you're interested in like getting some more information about, or some way of some perspective on some of this, a subtler way of looking at it, maybe go to do the math. Figure out. I mean, just really do the math. The math says that 12.8 pages a week you can read A Course in Miracles, and the text tracks with the lessons.
It does.
So if you're on week you look at 12.8 times whatever week number it is.
Okay.
Week number 19. So 12.8 times 19. Those are the 12 pages. The 12.8 pages that might help.
There we go. Well, now we're gonna leave you, and we'll stick around for Jacqueline something genuine. It's really fun and fun
profound.
And profound. Okay, y'all.
We love you.
We love you. See you
in a minute.
next time. Shanti, hey, Shanti, hey, Shanti.